Today we're going to look at interest, which is a very important concept when we're talking about borrowing money. You can think of interest as a payment that you make for borrowing the money. So let's say you borrow $1,000 from a bank. When you pay back the bank $1,000, you're not going to just give them the $1,000. You're also going to give them something extra. That little extra thing that you're giving them, that's the interest. It's one of the ways that a bank makes money. In the same way, if you deposit $1,000 in a bank, it's not just the $1,000. After a year or so, if you don't touch that money, interest accrues on that money, and you get more, depending on what kind of account you have. So when we're talking about interest, there's a couple of things that we need to understand. There's some terms that we need to be able to define: principal, interest rate, and term. The principal is how much money you start with. The interest rate is what percentage of the principal you have interest charged over, and term is how long in years you're going to be getting interest. So once again, looking at those definitions. The principal, the original amount of the loan. The interest rate, that's the percentage that is charged to calculate the interest. And the term is how long your interest is charged, typically in years. So here's an example. Ruby borrowed $12,500 for 5 years at 1.75%. We need all those numbers to be able to work out a number of things, but for now, let's just see if we can define or specify which one of those is a principal, which one's the interest rate, and which one's a term. So the principal, we said, is how much money we started out with. Ruby borrowed $12,500. That's the principal. The interest rate is the percentage that is calculated on the principal. So that's 1.75%. Every year, the interest on that $12,500 will be 1.75%, 1.75% of that money. And the term is how long the interest is going to continue to grow, and that is 5 years. So if we take the same question, the same situation, and we ask, all right, how much interest will accrue after 1 year? So she borrowed $12,500. How much more is she going to pay the next year? So what we're doing is we're looking at a percentage of the original amount. Every year she's going to pay 1.75% of the $12,500. That's how much the interest is going to be. 1.75% of $12,500. So after 1 year, the interest is 1.75% of $12,500, and we calculate it this way. 12,500 times 1.75%. And remember, percent means we divide this number by 100. So if we say 12,500 times 1.75 divided by 100, we'll get the answer. This is how much interest she's accrued after 1 year. And we round it to 2 decimal places if we have to, because we're talking about dollar amounts. $218.75. All right? So now, that's after 1 year. Well, this interest is going to continue for 5 years. So what happens the next year? That's the next question. What happens for the second year? Does she accrue another $218.75? Or do we now count the 1.75% on the new number? Because remember, it's $12,500 plus $218.75 that now she owes. She's owing more money. So are we calculating that percentage on the new amount? That depends entirely on what kind of interest we're talking about. Simple interest or compound interest. So we're going to look at those two kinds of interest next.